Hello everyone, welcome back to another taekook one shot. Soft glow of dawn filtered through the birds' blinds, casted gentle shadow across Jungkook's face. He stared, eyes fluttering, open to the familiar ceiling of his apartment. The silence that greeted him was welcome. Change from the chaos of their tour schedule, a rare moment of peace in their whirlwind lives as members of one of the world's biggest music acts. Reaching for his phone, Jungkook scrolled through notifications that had accumulated overnight. Among them was a message that made him smile. Taehyung, breakfast at Han River, just you and me, 7 a.m. It was their thing, escaping the spotlight whenever they could, finding pockets of normalcy in their extraordinary lives. Jungkook texted back a simple yes. They had known each other for nearly a decade now, watched each other grow from uncertain teenagers to confident young men. Somewhere along that journey, Jungkook's admiration for his young had bloomed into something deeper, something he kept carefully hidden behind playful smile and casual touches, or at least he thought he had. Taehyung was already there when Jungkook arrived, sitting on the bench overlooking the river, two paper cups of coffee and a small bag of pastries beside him. He was dressed simply black jeans and oversized white sweater with a beanie pulled low over his forehead. To Jungkook, he had never looked more beautiful. You are late. Things said, his deep voice carrying no real reproach. He held out one of his coffee cups. I got your favorite. Sorry, the manager called. Just I was leaving. Jungkook accepted the coffee with a grateful smile. Thanks for this, they said in comfortable silence, watching the early morning joggers and gentle long winter. We had 3 weeks before comeback preparation began, Taehyung said finally, turning to face Jungkook. I was thinking maybe we could go somewhere just for a few days. Jungkook raised an eyebrow. Go where? You know, we can't exactly walk around Seoul unrecognized. Taehyung's lips curled into a mysterious smile. I wasn't thinking Seoul, I was thinking Jeju. My grandfather's old house is empty right now. The idea of spending days alone with Taehyung sent Jungkook heart racing. It was dangerous territory. Too much time alone might make it impossible to keep his feelings in check, but the hope look in Taehyung's eyes made refusal impossible. Okay, Jungkook heard himself say, let's do it. Taehyung's smile was radiant. I They arrived late, having taken a private flight to avoid attention, and the exhaustion of journey melted away as they it's perfect. Jungkook breathed, inhaling the salty air. Taehyung watched him with soft eyes. I used to come here as a child. It's one of few places where I can feel completely free. There was something intimate about being invited into the piece of Taehyung's past, a part of him that the camera and fans never saw. Jungkook felt honored and simultaneously terrified, afraid of how this closeness might affect his already fragile heart. The house had 2 bedrooms, but they ended up taking talking late into the night in a small living room. Remember their early days, sharing dreams for the future. Jungkook carefully steered the conversation away from relationships, even as Taehyung seems to be trying to guide it there. Do you ever think about after? Taehyung asked suddenly. Guide a life. Jungkook pondered the question. Sometimes it's hard to imagine, though. This has been our lives for so long. Taehyung nodded, his gaze distant. Sometimes it's hard to imagine, though. This has been our lives for so long. Taehyung nodded, his gaze distant. I think about it a lot lately, about finding something permanent in this temporary world. There was a weight to his words that Jungkook couldn't quite before he could ask for clarification. Taehyung stood up, stretching, laughed. We should sleep. I want to show you around the island tomorrow. That night, Jungkook lay awake, replaying Taehyung's words in his mind, trying not to read too much into them. The next morning, they rented bicycles and explored the coastal parts of Jeju. Taehyung led ate lunch at a small seaside restaurant where the elder owner didn't recognize them as global icons but simply treated them as two young men enjoying a meal. It was refreshing, and Jungkook found himself relaxing in a way he really could in Seoul. When did you first know you wanted to be a singer? Taehyung asked, picking at Jungkook's mark at the memory. When I saw G Dragon performing on TV, I was just a kid, but something kicked that. What about you? I think I always knew, Taehyung said, his eyes meeting Jungkook's, but I don't know if I was good enough until you told me I was. Jungkook blinked, surprised me. When did I say that? Our first year as trainee, I was practicing late, and you walk in. I was embarrassed. I don't remember that, Jungkook admitted, touching Taehyung had held onto the memory. I do, Taehyung said simply. I remember everything you have ever said to me that mattered. The intensity in his gaze made Jungkook look away, heart pounding. There was as they walked along the beach later that afternoon, their hands brushed accidentally. Instead of pulling away, them laid his fingers in Jungkook's for a beat too long before withdrawing. Jungkook, he said, stopping to face the ocean. There is something I need to tell you. Jungkook's throat went dry. What is it? But Jungkook then just shook his head, a small smile playing on his lips. Not yet. Tonight after dinner, the anticipation was nearly unbearable as they returned to the house to prepare a simple meal together. They moved around the small kitchen with practiced each dance they had performed over years of living in close quarters. Jungkook was actually acutely aware of every time their bodies came close, even accidentally touched. Every sad smile. After dinner, Taehyung suggested they take a bottle of wine to the porch. The night was clear, stars sparkling the vast canvas of the sky. They sat side by side on the wooden steps, even close enough that their shoulders touched. Do you remember our first concert? Taehyung asked, taking a sip of wine. Jungkook nodded. I was so nervous. I thought I might pass out, and I found you in the bathroom. You calmed me down, told me to focus on you if I got scared on the stage. Taehyung turned to him, eyes reflecting. Every time Jungkook admitted the wine making him braver than he might otherwise have been. Still do something. There was a pause filled only with the sound of waves crashing against the shore in the distance. Jungkook Taehyung said softly, I have been trying to find the right moment. The pause filling only Jungkook Taehyung said softly, I have been trying to find the right moment, the right words, but maybe there aren't any. Jungkook's heart hummed against his ribcage. For what instinct of answering, Taehyung leaned in slowly, giving Jungkook every opportunity to pull away. When he didn't, Taehyung closed the distance between them, pressing his lips into against Jungkook's. The kiss was tentative at first, a question, then Jungkook responded, yes, of pressed feelings pouring into the moment. It was everything he had imagined and nothing like he had expected, both familiar and entirely new. Jungkook's eyes closed. I have been wanted to do that for so long, he whispered. Jungkook was reeling, unable to believe this wasn't a dream. How long? Yes, maybe. Since the beginning. I just didn't know what it meant at first, and then when I figured it out, I was afraid. Afraid of what? Taehyung opened his eyes, vulnerability evident in his gaze. Of losing you, of ruining the group, of what the world would say. Jungkook understood those fears immediately. They were the same ones that had kept him silent all this time. And now, he asked, now I am not afraid of. I'm more afraid of never knowing what we could be. Taehyung said simply, life is too short for regrets, and to no career, no amount of fame is worth giving up the chance to love the person who mattered most. The word love. His smile was like the sun breaking through clouds, and a leverage on Jungkook more than music, more than fame, more than anything. They spent the rest of the night talking, sharing moments when they had nearly confessed, times when they had catch each other looking, the jealousy they had experienced when friends paired the other with different members. It was 3 years of kept secret finally seeing the light. As dawn approached, they faced the reality of what their love might even mean for their career, for the group that was like family to them. We should talk to the members first, Jungkook said, before anyone else knows. They nodded. They will understand. They are family. And the company, the fans, one step at a time, Taehyung said, discussing Jungkook's son. We will figure it out together. As the first ray of sunlight touched the horizon, Jungkook felt a profound sense of peace. Whatever challenge they had, the lie ahead, they would face them side by side as they always had. But now, with the strength of acknowledged love between them, they returned to Seoul came too quickly. They arrived separately to avoid speculation but agreed to meet at their room later that evening to talk to the members. Jungkook spent the day in a daze, reliving moments from their time on Jeju, hardly able to believe the shift in their relationship. When they arrived at the dorm, the familiar chaos of their shared living space saluted them. Namjoon was reading in the corner, Jin was cooking something that smelled delicious, and Hyosik was practicing dance moves in the small open area. Taehyung arrived 10 minutes later, and their eyes met across the room in silent understanding. It was time. We can talk? Taehyung asked the room at large. All of us, it's important. The seriousness in his tone caught everyone's attention. Jin turned off the stove. Jose paused the practice, and Namjoon marked his place in the book. Yoongi and Jimin, who had been in the rooms, joined them in living area. They sat in circle on an of countless meetings they had held over the years. Jungkook, I have something to tell you. Taehyung began, his voice steady despite the nervousness Jungkook could sense in him. Jungkook reached out and took Taehyung's hand, a gesture of that he did not go unnoticed. That did not go unnoticed by others. A look of understanding drawn on Jimin's face first, followed by a slow smile. We are together, Jungkook said simply, as in we are a couple. There was a moment of silence, and then Jin spoke. Since when? Officially, since Jeju. Taehyung answered, but in our hearts much longer. We wanted you to be the first to know. Jungkook added, we are still figuring out what this means for everything else. Namjoon leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. You know this wouldn't be easy. The tension in the room broke as laughter erupted. Jimin jumped up to hug both of them. Yoongi offered a rare smile, and Jin declared that this called for a special dinner. You are not surprised, Jungkook asked, somewhat taken aback by their reaction. Cookie, Namjoon said gently, we have lived together for years. We see how you look at each other. The real surprise is that it took you this long to figure it out. Yoongi added with his characteristic bluntness. The acceptance and love from their member, their family meant everything, but as the initial celebration subsided, the practice consideration began to surface. You will need reality of their situation sobered the mood in South Korea and indeed in many parts of the world. Their relationship would not be easily accepted. Their careers, their future of BTS could be affected by their decision to be together. We don't have to decide everything tonight, Taehyung said, sensing Jungkook's anxiety. We have time, but time, as it turned out, was not on the side. The meeting with the manager team was scheduled for following week. In the Jungkook and Taehyung tried to keep their relationship low-key, aware that even within their company, rumors could spread. However, of their meeting, disaster struck a staff member who had seen them together on Jeju. So news broke overnight, spreading like wildfire across social media by morning. It was the top trending topic worldwide, and therefore phones exploded with notifications, and their manager called an emergency meeting at the company headquarters. The atmosphere in the conference room was tense. Executives spoke in hushed tone, occasionally glancing at Jungkook and Taehyung with expressions ranging from concern to disapproval. This is unexpected. One executive said finally, addressing the room, we need to consider all options, including damage control. Damage control, Taehyung echoed her age to his voice. We are not a PR disaster. We are two people who love each other. The executive's expression softened slightly. I understand, Taehyung, but you must understand our position. The company has investments, shareholders, our artists to consider, and we have our lives to consider. Jungkook spoke up, surprising himself with his boldness. We have given everything to BTS, to the company, years of our youth, a price of freedom. All we are asking for is a chance to be happy. The room fell silent. Then unexpectedly their CEO stepped forward. Perhaps he said slowly, we have been looking at this from the wrong angle. BTS has always been about has expected this perspective least at all. Jungkook and Taehyung, they exchanged shocked glances as the CEO continued. Wouldn't be easy. There will be backlash. Certain will leave, but others will stand by you. And in time, perhaps the world will see that love is love, regarding of gender or culture. It was far from a perfect solution, and there were many details to work out. But as the meeting progressed, a plan began to take shape, not to hide their relationship or to deny it, but to acknowledge it with dignity and their own terms. They would release a statement carefully worded. The statement was released the following day. It was simple, straightforward, and came from Jungkook and Taehyung directly to our beloved army and to all who had supported us on this journey. We want to address the recent about our relationship. It's true that our friendship has evolved into something deeper. We care deeply for each other in a way that goes beyond the brotherhood we share with all members of BTS. We didn't choose this path lightly, knowing the challenge it might bring, but we also believe in the power of truth and its importance of living. BTS has always been about embracing who you are, and we are trying to honor that message in our personal lives as well. We ask for your understanding and support as we navigate the new chapter. Our commitment to BTS and to our music remains unwavering. We are and will always be seven. We love the and gratitude Jungkook and Taehyung The response was immediate and overwhelming. Social media exploded with reactions ranging from heartfelt support to outrage. Their names trended globally for days. Entertainment news covered nothing else. Their faces were on every magazine cover. Their stories by countless. They weathered the storm together, supported by their members who stood by them, and Jane appeared on a variety show Uncertain, a host who made a joke at their expense. Namjoon released a statement about love and acceptance. Jimin, Hoseok and Yoongi were photographed wearing rainbow pins at a public event, a small gesture that spoke volumes. Still, there was a difficult moment. Taehyung's father didn't speak to him for weeks. Some longtime fans publicly warned and declared they could no longer support BTS. Markets cancelled scheduled appearances. They were protested outside their company building. Through it all, Jungkook and Taehyung found strength in each other and in the surprising outpouring of support from fans around the world. Army organized support campaigns trending hashtag love is love and we support you later, and gifts followed their company office. Multiple celebrities, both Korean and international, spoke about in their defense. Slowly, an initial shock began to fade. News moved on. Their music continued to top charts, and after 2 months of lying low, they returned to a stage for a scheduled concert in Seoul. The roar of the crowd as they stepped onto the stage together was defining a wall of sound that seems to physically push against him. Jungkook felt tears in his eyes as he took in the sea of army bombs and supportive sighs when it came time for them solo stage. He modified the lyrics of his song. The line about finding love where you least expected it, in the crowd erupted in cheer, and during the echo, when Jungkook and Taehyung stood by side, their hands unnaturally together each other, the fans began to chant their name together, taekook, taekook, in the rhythm. Later that night, exhausted but elated, they lie on Jungkook's bed, scrolling through fans' reaction to the concert. Look at this, Taehyung said, showing Jungkook a tweet from a young fan saying, Taehyung and Jungkook happy and being themselves. We have made the courage to come out to my parents today. Thank you for showing me that love wins. Tears welled in Jungkook's eyes. We are making a difference, he whispered. Taehyung nodded, pulling him close. That's all I ever wanted, for our music, for our story to mean something. In the months that followed, they continued to navigate the complexities of being public figure in a relationship. They had agreements with their company about what aspect of life together they would share and what would remain private. They learned to ignore negative comments and to appreciate the positive ones. They found a balance between being role models and presenting their personal connections. They moved into an apartment together, away from spotlight where they could just be Taehyung and Jungkook cooking meals, watching movies, arguing about whose turn it was to do the dishes, and finally more deeply in love. Each day their music evolved too. Jungkook wrote about finding home in another person's eyes, then composed a piece about courage it takes to choose love over fear. They performed at Mama Awards that left not a dry eye in the house, and when 2 years later South Korea took a step forward, legalizing same-gender partnerships, they were there at the forefront of the movement, using their platform to Five years after their trip to Jeju, Jungkook stood on a porch of Taehyung's grandfather's house, now their own private retreat, watching the sunset over the ocean. So much had changed, yet some things remained constant. The beauty of this place, the music that flowed through their veins, and the love that had only grown stronger with time. Taehyung joined him, slipping an arm around his waist. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "Everything," Jungkook replied honestly. "How scared we were, how far we have come, how lucky we are. We made our own luck," Taehyung said, pressing a kiss to his temple. "We chose each other every day, even when it was hard." In the distance, they could see the lights of the small village coming out on as darkness fell. They had become a family sight there over the years, just another couple who came to enjoy the peace on the island. The locals had long since stopped seeing them as global superstars and accepted them simply as Jungkook and Taehyung, who like to walk on beach at dawn and buy fresh bread from the bakery on Sunday mornings. "Do you ever regret it?" Jungkook asked, suddenly coming out everything we went through. Taehyung considered the question seriously, as he did all questions. "No," he said finally. "It was hard, but yes, but hiding would have been harder. Living a half life, always afraid of being discovered, never able to fully be ourselves, that would have been the real regret." Jungkook nodded, understanding exactly what he meant. The path they had chosen hadn't been easy, but it had been true, and in that truth they had found a freedom that no amount of fame or success could have given them. Besides, Taehyung added with a grin, "If we hadn't came out, I wouldn't be able to do this whenever I wanted." He leaned in and kissed Jungkook deeply, a kiss that still made Jungkook's heart race. After all the years when they broke apart, Jungkook rested his head on Taehyung's shoulder, content. "I love you," he said simply. "Love too," Taehyung replied. "Beyond the music, beyond the spotlight, always." Stars began to appear in the darkening sky. They stood together in comfortable silence, two people who had found love in each other against all odds and built a love that defied expectations. Their story has become for others a testament to the power of authenticity and courage. But here on the porch, away from the world's gaze, They were just Taehyung and Jungkook, two hearts beating as one, facing their future together, whatever it might hold. In the end, that was the greatest love story of all. The end. Run, how was this story? I thought to write it in a way that would it what would happen if Taekook actually came out to the world in real. Hope this is gonna happen soon and hope they are gonna be accepted by everyone. No hate, no negative comments, nothing bad, just everything positive and acceptance. Hope it will happen soon. Okay, see you again. Bye bye. Love you. Pura hai.